Hit. My name is Katie Torback. I am the president of 5051 Vets. I am an Army combat vet. I live in Jacksonville, Florida, and I am going to pass it off to Carl.
Man, you got me while I was doing something. I am Carl. I am the founder and CEO of Crambox Politics. 20-year United States Marine Corps veteran, retired as a gunnery sergeant at the end of 2024, currently residing in the beautiful, wonderful, never duplicated North Carolina. And I'll pass it to Sam.
Hey, I'm Sam. Let's see, I guess you'd say 6-year Marine Corps vet. I got out after, one enlistment. Had at least one tour in Afghanistan. Left as a corporal, picked up sergeant in IRR, nothing special. And I am a candidate for South Carolina's 2nd Congressional District, and I'm running in the Republican primary. I'll pass it off to Brian.
Hey everybody, my name is Brian. I am a writer and a speechifier for 5051 Massachusetts, organizer. And I am a 4-year Army veteran of GWAT, Global War on Terror. And I'm going to pass it to Hannah.
Hannah, I am a civilian. I am with Common Defense and 5051 Vets. My partner is a Army vet. And I will pass it to Rory, my partner.
Hey all, my name's Rory. I'm 5051 Vets Comms Director and Hannah's partner, Army vet and Fayetteville, North Carolina area, just outside of Fort Bragg. So yeah.
All right. So now that we got everybody introduced, we were supposed to have Mayhem from Money Out of Politics on tonight, but he had an emergency. So we are going to push the out of politics discussion to next Wednesday, and we are going to talk about Iran and the ongoing stuff happening there. It hit the news yesterday that an F-15 was shot down and the pilots ejected. There was pictures reported of the seats landing and the parachutes deployed, and one pilot has been rescued. However, there has been a lot more aircraft that has gone shot down. With that being said, with this week we had our call with everybody while the air defenses were decimated or destroyed, I think was his word. But Rory, I asked you to look up the list. Can you give us the ongoing list of things completely destroyed and blown out of the air?
Yes, 1 second. I'm also going to comment it. That's what I was working on. And this is just in the last 48 hours.
While Rory's doing that, what do y'all think about F-15 getting shot?
What I think is interesting about this is how Trump is just not talking about it at all. There's no information flow whatsoever. And this hasn't been the first time that a plane has gone down. There was an F-35, I think, that got hit about a week ago, which is a much more expensive plane. You also had an AWACS plane, which are crazy expensive, got hit on the ground, which is, again, an indication of the fact that we do not have air superiority right now in this conflict, which is pretty... We should have air superiority by this point. The fact that we do not is a big problem for trying to fight a war of this type.
Yeah, I mean, an E3 AWACS getting
right
yanked in the middle of it, dead center, is kind of inexcusable in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's an expensive plane too.
Yeah, it's
and they're rare. They're hard to build.
I mean, it feels like this is turning into our Ukraine. 3-day special military operation, right? We're starting to take losses we really shouldn't be taking. Propaganda is just forthcoming, but
the
it's not
costs 3 to 500 million apiece.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are planes for people who don't know. Like these are planes that are used for like regional command centers is what they use them for. So it's like essentially the brains of an entire military operation in like like the entire CENTCOM region, for example. Like so they're really we rely on them heavily. These are the planes that have the giant dishes on the top that are designed to receive like satellite signals and broadcast and so.
And then you top it off, right? And the president got up after his time at the Supreme Court, where he was listening to the debate about birthright citizenship, right? And this man then gets up and gives a speech to, I don't know where he was at, but he gave this discussion to the media, and someone had asked him about funding for domestic programs like Medicaid and Medicare and stuff like that. And his response was, no, we can't be doing that. That's not the federal government's responsibility, and has since requested more funding for the DoD at the expense of domestic policies, which is even more ironic when you think about the fact that Rubio gave a speech the day before, literally the day before, saying that Iran needed to focus more of its funding on its people rather than its military. And then the United States turns around and wants to do military funding over providing for its people. It's the most wackadoodle thing on the planet. So we are we are living in weird times.
I've never heard anyone else say wackadoodle before, and I'm glad to have heard that from you.
I do, all right. So I don't know how y'all feel, but every time Iran comes out with like a propaganda video, there's a part of me that's like, yay, that looks so cool. And then there's the other part of me that's like, man.
Yeah, so that's how you know it's effective propaganda. What, by the way, is because it's touching on feels that divide and confuse their perceived opposition. Right? They put out a social post the other day, and it was something along the lines of like, like we're with you in the streets, of like American people, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, guys, like y'all are killing me.
I almost feel guilty laughing and enjoying what they're turning out. Like the videos of the Lego Trump and Lego Hegseth, and linking them to the Epstein files and all kinds of stuff. Like I'm enjoying it. It's great entertainment, but I also feel bad because we're at war with them. And I mean, it's not a declared war, but we're in conflict with them. And they're not good guys. They're not good people. But at the same time, they're really good at these videos. Like they're superb at these videos.
Yeah.
So
they're calibrated for a foreign audience, right?
Yeah.
So they're calibrated to sort of export their messaging to us rather than I mean maybe they're enjoying it internally. I don't know. But I mean, it seems like the language they're using, like all of it is designed. Like we're the target for these videos. So.
this is possibly one of the least liveliest smoke pits that.
Yeah, the last minute topic change. Like I did all this research for the other thing, and we had to hold it. So.
Yeah.
I was ready for
I
that.
know,
Too.
but like the Iran thing though is so, I don't know, it's so crazy because of the lack of information, right? And we've talked about this in-house with ourselves, is we really don't know everything that's going on. I mean, during Iraq and Afghanistan, we had embedded reporters and we saw combat footage all the time. And, battle buddies were sending, WhatsApps and, Telegram videos of what was happening. Like, we were all pretty informed of what was going on on the ground. This is the first time, I don't know how y'all feel about it, but this is the first time I feel disconnected, like, from the military. Like we as veterans really don't particularly know the situation of what's happening.
I
Do
will
do
say I
y'all feel
found
the
out that
same?
the George Bush is on its way to the theater as we speak, and I found that out through TikTok and watching sailors show how they pack their racks and unpack their sea bags and everything. And I think I watched one sailor complain about the fact that her rack is um, literally 12 inches and she can't turn around in bed and complaining about that. But it, it's weird how we're finding out about these things through social media and through our own service members who are kind of not intentionally reporting, but also letting us know what's going on. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was like a New York Times article that I read about 4 days ago about their belief based on, and they used socials to figure this out. So they would like look at socials like that type of thing, kind of troll it and kind of get a sense of what's going on. Um, the article was claiming that we have like 12 bases in the Middle East in that area that are just ruins, um, and they were not polite with their language about it. It's not just like a missile hit a building. It's like no, these places are uninhabitable and they have to abandon them, right? But we can't confirm any of this. And what I'm curious about is why aren't like the national security minded sort of Democrats or even Republicans for that matter not banging on the pulpit saying what the hell is going on? Where's our information? Why aren't we being read in on this? Like we're getting, our people are getting killed over here and we don't know, we don't have any information, right? Like,
So that's one that I'm really interested in, because the rep that I'm running against, Joe Wilson, he sits on the Foreign Affairs Committee. He sits on Armed Services Committee, right? Like he sits on the committees that would essentially be providing some level of oversight on this, and it's just crickets, crickets, you know. And I don't. It's weird. It's so weird that he as a veteran and all of his kids as veterans, and he has nothing to say really about what's going on.
oh, Joe Wilson, he's the you lie guy during the
Yeah,
that guy.
where's that energy at,
Yeah,
man?
he's a piece
Where's
of
that
work.
energy at?
I
He,
wonder if it's a fear of coming out and sounding like they are not in support of the troops. I wonder if that's what it is. Like they don't want to be labeled as pro-Iran or and anti-American because of the fact that it's election year, and so they're basically just letting shit roll in the hopes that when they get reelected, they'll have the chance to redeem themselves.
the thing is like there's not much of a market against that, right? So it would be him, it would be his Democratic contender, and there's several right now, but one of them is also a veteran. I'm a veteran. Obviously, I'm running against him, saying I don't like the war, right? So I mean the threat already exists of, like it's not that I'm pro Iran, right? I am anti unconstitutional wars and unthought out conflicts that just, I mean, it's a bumble. We're bumbling this, you know? Even if you say, well, we've bombed them to the Stone Age, that's neat. They still have control of the Strait of Hormuz. Prices are still going up. Our allies still disrespect us. It's a failure. It is a tactical failure. It is going to be I really think strategically, we are going to waste so much munition on this. China very well may feel emboldened.
Yeah.
And as you were pointing out, Carl, like that whole little correspondence. I don't know if it was a correspondence. It was definitely a dinner where media wasn't supposed to be there, I think. And he's talking about cutting social programs in order to restock the military. Okay, so your war of choice is now going to call social programs to restock the resources that you essentially wasted for the bigger fight with either Iran or, I'm sorry, with China, or not even Russia, with China. I mean, so I don't know. I don't know.
And so that's actually a good segue because there's a lot going on here, and we're actually maybe even like we're having a hard time processing all the information or the lack thereof. But we do know that right now Iranian missiles and drones are penetrating Middle East air defenses, both Israeli defenses and our defenses. We know that to be true. Okay, we do know that we have not been able to push into the Strait of Hormuz with sea power. Okay, we do know that there's a potential deployment to Karg Island. Okay, all of these things to me indicate that they're also not sharing any information at all. Okay, I think they know the war is going badly, and they're just trying to keep the lid on it. And so all this performative outrage crap they're doing, that with the we're terrorists and all this stuff, like it's just it's a distraction. Everything's a distraction from something else, but each thing is also horrible on its own merits, and so it divides our attention. We can't focus on anything. Like I've said this before. Like I think we're losing, right? Based on what I've seen, like there's no reason why a military as powerful and as well kind of equipped as ours should have these kinds of problems if we just didn't have the assets in theater to do the job. So, I don't know how much longer they can keep the lid on this, because the price spikes. Everybody's going to see that, and then they're going to start asking questions.
I agree with you. I do think that it's not going well, or they would be out there gloating, right? Like they gloat about everything else, and this is the one time that they're silent, but this is the one time that matters the most. It also is going to definitively change how the Middle East looks and whether we still have any sort of foothold. I wouldn't even say stronghold, I would say a foot within the Middle East, because one of the Iranian regime's like tells is that they want us out, right? They want us out of the GCC countries together. And they have shown that that is their goal. They are not going to stop until we are out of the Middle East permanently. And it's going to reshape global diplomacy going forward. And it was not a well thought out plan. And now our allies are not backing us. And now they're starting to close airspace. We saw Australia come out and say that, we can no longer use their airspace. Spain has said it. Historical allies across the world are closing airspace to our military. And this is the first time since, I think, ever that they have closed their airspace to our military.
I'm pretty sure
There
Sicily
is no going
and
back.
I was gonna say I'm pretty sure Sicily and Austria and Switzerland have their airspaces also somewhat close to us.
That's right. I do know Switzerland because of their neutrality stance, and they said it was because of their neutrality stance. Still, though, global diplomacy has changed going forward because of what is happening with the Trump administration and their idiocy. I mean, I don't even know what else to call it anymore, right?
Right.
Is they're idiots and they're crashing our country, our economy, our stance. And I think that that's their end game, is just to
Yeah,
crash it all.
that's because that's. I've been thinking about this since last week. I still don't know why he did it. Like, what advantage he saw. And because he's doing it alone and he did it unilaterally, like I'm looking for like the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, right, where like he's making a drug deal with some other dictator and they just say fuck it, let's just divide the planet, right? That's kind of where my mind is right now, and that this is part of that kind of plan, as hokey and as screwed up as it is. But January 6th was an attempted coup, and it was corny and dumb and not well thought out. But these guys are not the brightest bulb in the tree, but they surprise everybody because they're so ruthless, and most of us are not used to thinking that way. So he's able to surprise us when we shouldn't be.
There's something missing here socially, right? Like, you know, go back to 9/11. A lot of these wars have that rally around the flag syndrome, right? Like there's no rallying around the flag. Everybody's just like, wait, we're doing what? Why? Like there he is. If it was like, oh, we can do this, and then people will come and it will leave us alone. Clearly, they've done lost their mind. It's not going to work this time. They've again made a miscalculation. You can't campaign on no new wars and then start a war of choice. You know?
Well, the Iraq War was very contentious. I remember that there was a lot of debate about that, but we actually did have a debate, and there was a very powerful. There was a lot of effort put into the attempt by the Bush administration to sell the war on the world and to the American people. You know, he spent a year doing that, right? Like none of that has even happened here. So, like at some level, like I'm not even sure it's even clocking for everybody yet because it's happening so quickly. We haven't had a year to like talk about whether we should go to war with Iran or not. And so this is like, yeah, like someone mentioned the Russians. Like, yeah, this is a special military operation. It's not a war, right? Like whatever euphemism you want. Like it's a war, right?
Yeah.
I like
So
how they keep
I want
saying
to.
that it's not a war, right? Go ahead, Carl.
Sorry.
Go ahead,
I
Carl.
want to make a quick correction. It was Austria, not Australia, that closed their airspace to military overflight.
Oh, thank you for that correction.
I swear I checked it like 3 or 4 times because I was thinking like, why Australia? But I swear I read Australia. But all right,
Yeah, I literally
Yeah,
just did a quick
same.
search because I wanted to verify, and I was like, wait a minute.
No, thank you for the correction. I, it's just so random, especially with the Russian thing, and then, with General George being fired and him having the strategy, learning from the Ukrainians of how to fight against Russia, and now drone warfare being used predominantly by the Iranians. I'm just not sure that we have the knowledge set among the people left of how to fight this, right? Is because we seem to be getting rid of a bunch of good people with institutional knowledge, right? And that's going to make us pivot into the next thing we're going to talk about is like, while we're in war, right? Like we're in the middle of a war, we're cleaning house in the top brass of the military, which is dangerous. And I think I saw Elise Slotkin say the other day, I'm a CIA person and we a CIA analyst, and when we look at foreign countries and we see foreign countries clear out the top brass of the military and make major changes within the generals, that it is clearly a sign of like a coup or they're about to do something kind of crazy. And so I wanted to get everybody's opinion on what's been happening with the top brass being cleared out. Now, I am Army all day, and General Randy George was fired this week, the chief of staff of the Army. And for anybody watching that doesn't understand what that means, he is the top ranking person in the military, the top, like, number one head person in charge, right? And he has the most institutional knowledge and advises the Secretary of Defense and the President on matters of the military. Well, Army specifically, just Army. I am concerned with his firing. If it was just one, I would say, yeah, that happens, right? Because we all know, sitting here, that you serve at the pleasure of the president when you get that far up. It's more political than it is military based. The speculation out there is that he refused to remove the names from the promotion list, the women and the black people that Hegseth wanted removed. So, what are y'all's thoughts on General George being removed? And then we can kind of spiral into more people being removed.
I thought it was surprising. Well, I'll take it back. I thought it was surprising that he was who he was, right? Like, when Hegseth wanted to remove, the names of those women and women of color, I was like, well, that's pretty part of the course here with this administration. And then I saw he got fired, and I was like, that's going to be for a fully different. That is, you actually did something wrong, not you just exist, right? And so, or not necessarily wrong, but you did something to cross. And the amount of people that have been fired, I'm full with you. I think that they were like, absolutely not. I think that there was resistance to the level of stupidity that is about to go down, and they're being purged for it. And so, yeah, like I'm braced for impact, you know?
Right. And so we're going to have a really good stress test of how good and how much fidelity to the Constitution our military leadership has. I was confident that the top tier would do the right thing. Okay, but now we're going to start getting into the secondary and tertiary tiers. And the way this is going to work is, it's like anytime there's an autocratic takeover, you always hear the story about like the corporal who gets promoted to a colonel, right? And that happens because you're loyal and you get the rank and you get the position, and it's almost like a mob level sort of relationship where it's like, I will give you position and status if you service my needs. And someone who does that, who was a corporal, has no authority whatsoever. Now he has authority, but that authority is entirely derived from the leader. Now, our military is not structured that way. That can't happen. The president cannot just put whoever he wants anywhere within the military. There's a whole process they have to follow. But he can like chomp through the levels of officialdom until he finds, his pliant Vici supplicant to kind of fill whatever role he wants filled. And so we're going to see real quick how good our training is at the officer level.
I think what worries me more is the person he replaced him with, right? Like, if he would have replaced him with someone equally as qualified, I would be like, okay, maybe it's a difference in strategy, like Iran strategy, and that's the stick up. But he replaced him with his own aide. So can we say loyalist? Like we
Yeah.
are like
Yeah.
definitively replacing with loyalists at this point?
Well, we
Can
know
we
the
say that
officer
now?
corps isn't. We know the officer corps isn't perfect because Michael Flynn was a general, and that guy's a crazy person who is probably a Russian asset. So,
Facts. I still have him pinned for being in on the Q conspiracy.
Do y'all remember last year when
But
do y'all remember last year when the former secretaries of defense signed the letter at the
yeah.
firing of Alston? Where's the next iteration of that? Like I am, uh, Carl. I don't know about you. I'm waiting for Mattis to say something. I'm waiting for Mattis to say something. Um, I don't know, right? Like the corporal in me is just like, I want Mad Dog to come out and start saying the shit that needs to be said, right?
He's
'Cause I
already
think,
said things, hasn't he?
I mean, he's definitely said that like the what we're doing is questionable, but I don't think he's gone all in with it. He's being very strategic, very kind of level headed about it, but I'm just waiting for all in before it's you can't go back. Like we haven't invaded yet. We don't have to.
Yeah.
But once we invade, cat's out of the bag, Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, but he also got his name torn or drug through the mud when he served as SecDef under Trump 1.0, and then said, you know what, I'm not going to do this. And immediately all MAGA was just rabidly against Mattis. Like it was a huge turn. Like even a lot of Marines that I knew that were all about Mattis at first turned on him the minute he turned on Trump. And it was enlightening to see that happen, because Mattis is someone who is he's a scholar, like he's a warrior scholar. He goes into things with a very informed mindset, and for him to come out and say, yeah, sorry, like this isn't in line with the United States of America and in our values, and then get drugged through the mud for it, like that's That's insane.
I agree. I mean, that's, his other moniker, right? I mean, the warrior monk, right? And that's how I think of Mattis whenever I actually think of who he is as a leader. He's, I mean, look at that guy's reading list. I mean, for fuck's sake. And I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, before he went into Trump's cabinet, wasn't he a professor at Brown? I want to say he was a guest lecturer at Brown. I got to look. But yeah, I mean, the man's brilliant. I mean, to your point, Carl, like when I think of Mattis specifically in what he brings to the table, it's that thoughtful analysis of national security and like geopolitics. I mean, for fuck's sake, I mean, he was reading Marcus Aurelius on deployment, right? I mean, the guy's not a moron.
Dartmouth and Stanford.
I just
Yeah, so there's a couple interesting this triggered a couple interesting thoughts. One is there's so you want to think of like a general. Like the right way to think of a general is more like a politician than like a warrior. Now, bear in mind they are still warriors and they're still trained for war, but they oftentimes have a very political valence and they think about their sort of position and their authority and they understand that kind of instinct. A lot of these folk they're not gonna kind of put their thumb on the scale until they feel like there's a groundswell of sort of activity, and then they're going to put their thumb on the scale, because what they want to do is they don't want to kind of blow their energy or by them introducing their name, because they understand that the name has power. And so that's a lot of these guys are kind of waiting for the right time, because the timing is important, because it matters for like a week and then it doesn't matter anymore, right? So they kind of have one cannon to fire and then it's gone. That being said, because we're all veterans and we're all organizers in the No Kings movement, a lot of us are really well connected with a lot of the individuals in the movement. Like, it might now be time to start thinking about outreach to those folk, like directly. Like, find ways to connect with them and say, hey, we're doing a rally such and such time. It'd be great if you come down, and then that gives them we're offering them the opportunity and say, listen, we'll build a platform for you. We'll do all the socials and set all that up, and you just got to get out there and make some noise. I think a lot of these guys might be willing to do that. Mattis, but also like Mark Milley. Mark Milley's been a little more pugilistic recently. There's opportunities here for us maybe to kind of get these folk embedded in the movement in some way in a capacity that respects their ability.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, I mean, I know that we have, I know, Brian, you and I share mutuals with, a few of, flag officers out there that have helped.
Oh, yeah.
Either overtly or, off the record, right? These are retired people that dedicated their lives in service to this country. And I mean, I think that, people should be aware when we talk about a flag officer, these aren't morons, typically, right? These aren't idiots. You know what I mean? They're brilliant, brilliant human beings that rose through the ranks off merit, typically.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's exceptions to the rule. It makes me think too, there's another group out there called Steady State. Those are some interesting cats. They, former company folks, if you will. So from various 3 letters. To your point, Brian, I always think it's interesting when we talk about that. Like, we as the veteran community definitely have a unique, lens to look at the flag officers through, to look at the military through, or the 3 letters even, but rightfully so, like people within the movement spaces in the coalitions, there tends to be apprehension there, right? So like Steady State specifically, I'm thinking of, right? And I'm cool with, by the way, cool with them. These are brilliant people that I believe they dedicated their lives to service, right? But it makes sense that people feel the way they feel, right?
There's some space. Like the farther left you go, you tend to get more like military skepticism, right? Is a real thing.
Yeah.
I don't think it's terribly widespread everywhere I've been. It's like, oh my God, a veteran, they're out here doing the thing. We love it. Like, that's been my experience 95% of the time, but. I don't know why I did the voice there, but
There definitely is a skepticism, though. I like that I have run into it might be endemic to the South, because organizing in deep red states is difficult as it is. And in deep red states, the veterans tend to be very MAGA. And so there's a skepticism amongst people in general in red states, among a group like ours, right, of veterans. Everybody sees us as conservatives and Republicans and MAGA. And when you show up and you're like, so I'd like to organize with you kind folks,
I mean,
they're like, who the fuck are you?
if this room is any indication of the balance of forces within the veteran community, it is more conservative. Like, we are the most conservative part of the movement by far, right?
Nah, disagree. Disagree. Yeah,
I talk to a lot. There's so many people who I talk.
agree
Like, I
with
think
Logan.
6 out of like 8 of the panelists would like admit to being former Republicans at some point. Like,
okay, I'm the exception then, not the rule.
yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, I came from like I'm a DSA kid. You know what I mean? Like I'm a card carrying member of DSA. Or coming from
I'm
like
just not in any org,
there
but
you go.
I would carry a DSA card.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. And like,
Well,
so like, I think of like the organizing space in California specifically, like when I came out and got involved in Occupy, the veterans there were fairly left,
Yeah,
and I think
it's
of like
not-
the SVAs out there, like, CalVets, so the Berkeley Veterans Group, they were, pretty about it, if you would, same thing with like the SVAs. So the Student Veteran Associations from the other schools I went to, we tended to be more left leaning. You would get more libertarians, or like the way I consider you, Brian, and I hate to throw a moniker on you, but like,
That's fine. You can do it.
yeah, but like, I mean, look, man, like you remind me a lot of like my pops' ideology in a way, like old school kind of Reagan Republican, maybe more libertarian,
yeah.
like,
Yeah, it's
like
like
I think, yeah.
I'm like a cross between like Reagan and like Bill Weld is kind of where I picture myself politically.
Yep. And that's what that, so that would be the mix that I feel like I've seen mostly with the veterans, but like also I'm mad biased. Like the veterans I know are like PSL and DSA cats, man. So I mean, take that for you, Will.
I think like I said, there's a difference though, like organizing in the South, right? Like I organize in Florida. I've been organizing in Florida for over a decade. And so normally when I'm organizing around veteran specific issues, mix kind of like this, right? Is you have a bunch of far right vets, far left vets, and we're all just kind of focused on one thing. The interesting thing about this movement is that just saw that comment. The interesting thing about this movement, especially within our space, the veteran space, is you have either the die-hard MAGAs, right? Or now you have like this group of vets that is kind of lost in the sauce, like we say. Is they're like, oh, I voted for Trump, but I'm not here for the war. I don't want my gas prices to be as high as they are. And so I don't know. I think it's a weird time and space for veterans in general in this country of trying to make
I was gonna
sense
say
of what's going on.
I've recognized it here in North Carolina. It's definitely like the more time goes on, the more vets are coming out and are speaking out and are wanting to get involved. And it's really weird to see around here because with Bragg being right here, seeing more and more people speaking out about it, I don't know. It's definitely noticeable.
Yeah, I think of veterans as a swing vote fundamentally, because and I say this just myself, like we're all cross pressured, right? We have these different sort of things, and so we're being forced to make a choice basically, and we have to say, well, can we hang out with the hippies even though they're hippies and they're not, whatever insult you have for the hippies, right? Whatever sort of stereotype you have in your head, and you have to get over that. Right. And again, like I'm new to this. And for me personally, just my own experience, like going into like very left spaces was very odd and very disconcerting. And it took me a while to get used to it. Like it's just because the culture is just different, and it's it can be difficult to kind of cross that barrier. And if people don't want to suffer that pain, they're just going to say, fuck it, I'm not going to deal with it. I'm this thing over here because it's just easier, right? I get that. Like, I think it's wrong. I think you should make a choice between good and evil and just look past whatever differences you got. But I understand why there's that tension there. But in some ways, that's a good thing because it's an area, it's a crack in MAGA's armor that we can exploit.
Yeah. I mean, for me, the way I try to, talk about the veteran community with people is like, we're not a monolith, right? Like, it's still just people. To the point of like the folks that have been organizing in the South, like, was born in Oklahoma, right? I got family down there, and it's to your point. I know exactly what you mean when you say the veterans down there. Yeah, a lot of them voted for Trump, bro. I mean, there's no way I'm gonna, I'm not gonna deny that. That's real. Same thing in the online spaces, you'll see it. I think that, in tech, in the student spaces, it can vary. And you can get more people that are like more akin to like, me, where it's like fairly fucking left, or like, left leaning. Yeah, it's to me, I do think, to your point, Brian, it's definitely that swing voter kind of aspect. What I also like is like that I think about when I think about veterans in general is it's like, look, ideally, these are informed citizens that understand the consequences of shitty foreign policy, right? Ideally. And so when I see, certain veterans saying, hoorah, let's go fucking invade Iran. I'm just like, bro, like, I saw you bitching on deployment, man. What the fuck are you talking about, bro? Like, I mean, what are you saying, man? I remember you like saying you can't wait to get back. Fuck this. You're fucking over it. Then you get out and this is what you're like. I mean, come on, dude. So, I don't know.
Yeah, fighting wars is always so much more fun when somebody else has to do it.
That's the most disheartening part, right? Is seeing people that you served with or deployed with that you like knew were shitbags on deployment that are rooting people on. Like, oh, I can't wait for, I wish they would call veterans back. It's like, bro, like you couldn't walk a mile, let alone run anywhere. What are you talking about? Or all these like vets that have been out for like 20 years that like are trying on their uniforms and videos. I'm like, bro, I don't even know where the fuck my uniform's at. Like, are you kidding? Or it's the most disgusting thing to me. Is veterans that know the consequences of war, then know how much the VA sucks, that are like, yeah, rooting 18, 19-year-old kids to go through the same shit we went through. Like, how fucking gross. Like,
So
how totally gross. It's. Go ahead.
No, I didn't want to cut you off. I just delaying the line. We hit on this at a couple points. What's really interesting is how we're all trying to understand at some level, like how anyone can vote for this lunatic at all, right? Like how anyone can support him. There's a couple interesting data points here, though, that I think kind of illustrate what is going on. So the people who broke with Trump first, who were they, right? The people who broke first were essentially like the Lincoln Project Republicans. These people were political analysts, okay, and who kind of understood what was going on. They have a constituency of one. They only care about them. I wouldn't say they only care about themselves, but they only, the only person they answer to is themselves, and they can make their career any way they damn well please. And they raised kind of the alarm right away. Like, David Frum, who was a Bush guy, a Bush speechwriter, was talking about this guy in 2013 and what was happening in the Republican Party, and everybody was poo-pawing him. Like, he was right. He was totally on the money about what was going on. But what separated those folk from the Republican base was essentially education. People like me, I consider myself educated, are in this camp as well. But like, we read history and we're like, oh yeah, this is obviously rancid, and they're obviously manipulating us, and it's obvious. But to a lot of people, to huge numbers of people, it is not obvious. And so they see us, red-faced and screaming about like, hey, we got an asteroid coming, guys. We got to deal with this. They don't know what to do with that. And so they're relying on like heuristics. They're not relying on reason. It's like we're trying to communicate to people in abstracts, and it just doesn't punch through. They're just not. They're just not seeing it. It's like the curse of knowledge. Like if you understand the world and then you try to explain it to people, it's like it's like your Peanuts character just gabbing at them. Like they're not hearing any of the language. They're not getting it, and that makes it frustrating. And so we get fucking angrier, and then we end up driving people away because we're not able to communicate what's going on to them in language that they understand. And this is really the problem with the Democratic Party as well, because the language is so tuned to like a highly educated class, and everybody else says, oh, well, they abandoned us. They haven't really abandoned the working class. They're not communicating in a way, and somewhat your DSAs, you'll fight with me on that. But I do think most of the Democrats generally, if you look at their policy planks, tend to care about things like, okay, let's do a subsidy here so we can get these people out of poverty. They seem to push that as an issue at times, right? I don't think the abstract is getting through, long story short.
Yeah, I don't know. I think both parties have abandoned the working class. And I mean, when we think about Democrats in general, yeah, I mean, I agree with you 100%. Their messaging has been shit. Like, there's no way that I'm going to disagree with that fact at all. I mean, you're bang on the money there. And I think also a lot of their policies have not necessarily been great or in the favor of the working class. Like, I've seen the complete, in my opinion, once again, the complete abandonment of, essentially unions, right, and worker-centric policies, over the past couple decades, or decade at least. And so, yeah, I understand why people feel the way they feel. I understand why working class Americans feel the way they feel. I mean, for fuck's sake, I just did my taxes today. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, everyone's a raging conservative on tax day.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, man. I guess with me, the way, yeah, there you go. The way that I look at it is that I think if the Dems are ideally some facet of the political infrastructure speaks to working class issues, they're probably going to do good, right? We saw it with Zohran Mamdani, right? And I do think that there's a lot of crossover on both sides of the aisle of voters on certain issues, right? Like I forgot the data, I'd have to look it up, but like the vast majority of voters don't think that if you're sitting in Congress, you should be able to trade stocks, right? Most people agree on that. A lot of people agree that we should have term limits. A lot of people agree that we should get money out of politics, right? Yeah, I see Carl shaking his head no. So, so that being said, I mean, I do think there's crossover there. And I think if people speak to those issues specifically, they'd probably do a lot better, right? I mean, I would even posit that if we could get past this left versus right divide by speaking towards more issues that are substantive, that were based in economic equality, that were based in uplifting people to the middle class, I honestly think it would cut across party lines. Like if you just said, here's my platform, and everyone should just say, this is a given platform, fuck who you are as far as Democrat or Republican. If you're not running on at least these 3 or 4 issues, we don't want to talk to you, right? I think you would get a lot further in this country. Yeah.
Have you been reading the speeches that I write on No King's Day? I mean, because that's pretty much exactly what the speech was about. And I guess part of the messaging, like the brand, the tagging that I came up with and recorded videos for this morning was I'm a people first patriot, right? They love to say America first. And I'm like, all right, so my problem is we can say America first, but who is America really representing right now? Are they representing us, or is power too concentrated in the hands of the elite? Right? Exactly. It's up. So I want to be a people first patriot. I want to put the people first. We the people, we staff the government, we serve in the military, we work, in the job, or we work the jobs, and we drive the economy. And so when we talk about capitalism, or when they talk about capitalism, I think that they often forget human capital and how effective and how healthy our country would be if we had healthy families, right? If we had quality education, if there was a pathway to a meaningful life, right? So they get mad at government subsidies, and I kind of get it because, you know, the debt or whatever. But at the same time, like, if you don't take time to fertilize your soil, your plants are going to be shit. And the job of the government is to help nurture and amend the soil that the rest of us can spring forth from, right? Like it is there to protect and guard and nurture that. Um, and so the prevention is so much better than going after and chasing the medicine, right? And like again, like how do you? Those are big conversations that have to happen. So I mean, that's exactly how I'm running this campaign. I'm going to get my ass handed to me in the primary. There is no doubt that it is a deeply uphill fight. But I mean, this is the opportunity. They have to respond to the narrative that we create, and that is exactly what we're going for. It's not so much left and right, dog. It's up. It's up, and it breaks my heart to sit here and say that I consider the United States to be an oligarchy rather than a constitutional republic. But politicians pick their constituents, and not constituents picking their politicians, right? So I kind of got to, I don't know why Carl shook his head, but I kind of got to agree with him. I think term limits are a band aid when you should be aimed at increasing competition within areas to facilitate civic engagement. And then the other thing I'll say is, dude, absolutely. Like, whenever I first started teaching ninth graders, holy shit. It was like I was speaking in another language. I, over a year or two, like, had to lower my vocabulary so much. You know, tell me if you've heard this one before. Break it down Barney style. And I still wasn't fully able to achieve that. But, you know, like, I'm running within the Republican Party because it is the culture that identity politics. It's the culture that I grew up with, right? So like there's a little divide here in the Midlands where Columbia tends to be very Democrat and then Lexington tends to be very Republican. It's just kind of how that divide goes. So I grew up culturally on the Republican side and like, you know, did all the things that the Republican Party would say that was good. But then whenever I became a teacher, the party essentially left me and made my life miserable and difficult because now I was an educator. And, you know, like I realize with all the work that we've been doing with No Kings, and people are like, I can't believe you're running as a Republican. I'm like, well, this is where I came from. And these people deserve to hear that message and that voice and have somebody that they can engage with, right? So I'm going to be treated as a damn it doll. But Marines are used to getting the shit beat out of them. Like, okay, cool. We're gonna take the beatings. I'm gonna do it with a smile on my face, and then try to go ahead and provide that education and that alternative to it's not left and right, dog. It's top down. So you know, I like what you're saying because I'm trying to do it. But you know,
Yeah, so I shook my head no
I'm affirm.
to term limits because of the fact that I wholeheartedly believe that the problem is not the term limit or the lack of term limits. The problem is the lack of participation from the voter, right? Like there's a reason that we have people that are sitting in office for 20 plus years, Nancy Pelosi being one of them. She's in a district that she doesn't even have to fucking run in. All she has to do is raise money and then give it to everyone else because she knows that no one's going to compete with her and she's fine. And she can just sit there on her ass and do absolutely nothing for her constituents, right? Same thing with Virginia Fox here in North Carolina. Been there for 20 fucking years and she doesn't really have to run. The problem is not the fact that we don't have term limits, right? The problem is the fact that we have an American population that just doesn't give a fuck anymore, right? They don't want to participate because they don't think it matters. And they don't think it matters because of the fact that they've been slowly pulling away from the political spectrum, right? On top of that, money has been slowly purchasing, it has been slowly, right? But it's been gradually purchasing our representatives. And it's gotten to a point now where people aren't wrong to say, yeah, you know what, my vote doesn't count because all that matters is the money. But in reality, if people started paying attention and people started to use their voice and if people started to be more engaged, what would happen is that these people who are sitting in office for 20 plus years would all of a sudden find themselves in highly competitive seats, and it would be Dunskies. So I think that the better answer is eliminating gerrymandering completely. Like that shit needs to fucking go. At no point in time should an elected representative be allowed to choose who is going to vote for them. No, absolutely not. Right? That's not how it goes down. I shouldn't be able to look at a state and be like, how the fuck did you come up with this goddamn map? Because it makes not sense. And so at the end of the day, I'm wholeheartedly against the term limits because it's approaching the problem from the wrong angle. I think what we need to do is eliminate parties, eliminate the gerrymandering, and eliminate money from politics, and make sure that the voter knows what the fuck they're doing when they go into the polling booth. If they're not, if we don't fix that singular problem, all the other shit is pubkiss.
So there's a Senate candidate in Massachusetts named Alex Racline. He is running. I've met him a couple times, and he is running against Senator Markey. He has a really interesting platform. His big thing is he wants to do ranked choice voting multi-member districts. So like Massachusetts, I'll just speak about my state because that's all I know. We have 9 seats. And you would basically divide it into 2 districts. They'd be multi-member districts, and it'd be ranked choice voting, top 5 or 4, depending on which side of that line you are. And this is meant to like both reduce kind of radicalism, because you have to basically appeal to the center and you have to appeal to the broadest. You have to build a broad coalition to even win in that type of environment. And it also records voter preferences, and so it kind of reduces the spoiler effect. And the idea would be is that you would still have political parties. They would form organically, but they would be parties that would be forced to form coalitions, because you would have a Libertarian Party or a Green Party that can actually gain political power. You know, I'm a Libertarian, right? I still pay dues, right? I'm connected to the Libertarian Party of Massachusetts. Like they have no chance whatsoever, and at some level, it's a philosophy club. And then what happens is too is it radicalizes. So I'm a proud moderate, right? I say that in that space, and they're like, "Fuck you, moderate," right? And it's like, well, okay, then you're not doing addition, you're not doing politics, you're doing masturbation, and that doesn't help anybody. So.
I was literally going to ask if we had heard of multi-member districts, right? When talking about, like, that was literally going to be like the next plug, and then boom, here you are with it. Yeah, I mean, it is definitely, it's an interesting concept, but Katie, I'm sorry, I just want to throw that out there that he's reading my mind over here.
I don't know why you're apologizing. This is just a conversation. I had not heard about it. So I think that that is a very fascinating idea, because I was going to ask Carl to throw out ideas about how to fix gerrymandering, right? Like we have states like Florida, Texas, other states that are gerrymandered awfully. So if we are going to outlaw gerrymandering, how are we going to do it, right? I am a structure person, a policy person. So how are we going to ensure the maps are not gerrymandered? Like who is responsible for looking at, like, let's say Florida, because that's fuck me. That's my state, and who gets to draw the maps? I guess is my question to you guys. Is like, who do you think should draw the maps?
I think sometimes it's like a citizen coalition, right? Like, um, there's so many ways that you can approach it, but I mean they have kids games for drawing maps. Like you are given kind of general information, and then you make it happen. I think one of the things that you can also do is increase the size of the house. The house has been frozen in its current size since the 1920s. I don't, doubling the size of the house would be chaotic. Don't get me wrong, but if you're looking for the house which is supposed to represent the people, then increasing the size of it would obviously increase the representation available to the people. So you can increase the size of the house. But to your point of gerrymandering, yeah, I think you have to have some sort of independent coalition that you know can help make those determinations. I mean, it's a hard question, but hey, that's why we have think tanks. You know, they're the ones that sit down and game and like really kind of hash out those ideas. But
Yeah, but a lot of those folk are watching this podcast, so we're going to seed the idea and then they're going to go execute on it.
God, I wish.
So I mean, if I were to create a method, right? The way that we're supposed to develop districts is by population density, which gets recalculated every 10 years. And then what we do is we look at the population density and we adjust the borders. Well, every state has some form of a county, right? Be it a parish or a county or what have you, locality. Every state has some form of that, and each one of that grouping of people has a population density. And I think that being able to go through and just saying, hey, look, this is the population density for this region, in order to ensure that we maintain equal density across the board, the map needs to get redrawn here, here, and here, but not based off of color, not based off of voting preference, not based off of poverty level, not based off of income level. It's just purely based off of population, period. Like, you don't look at any of the other aspects. You just say, what is the population? How can we ensure that we have this clear cut across the spectrum? I think that is the easiest answer to the problem. When I hear about the multi member districts, all I hear are the follow-on effects of taking away the voice of the minority, right? Because what you wind up having is these larger regions that are supposedly aligned to the center, but all you need to do is talk to the majority within that specific region and represent the majority within that specific region, and now the minority no longer has a voice, which is a problem. So in my mind, that's kind of how I see it going. Now I could be wrong in how I understand that proposal, because I personally have not heard about it until tonight, so I haven't really done much digging. That's just the first thing that popped into my head. But the solution that I see is, like you said, Sam, independent boards that are not partisan, that build them out based off of population density. And if you do that, I think that we could solve a lot of our gerrymander problems that we have today.
So in California, they had an independent
I would
redistrict-
like to propose,
Go ahead. Sorry.
I think, to keep it completely independent, because what I was getting at is human error, no matter what, unconscious bias, right? Is no matter how many people you get into a room that you say are nonpartisan, and there's still the element of unconscious bias. And so I think in voting specifically, we need to remove any unconscious bias. And it might be the one time I would be amenable to AI data to make nothing else.
So there's the mechanics of it, like how you actually draw the lines. Like, I don't think drawing fair maps is that difficult, right? The problem isn't actually physically drawing the maps in terms of like the mechanics of like which humans live where. I think the difficulty is who gets to draw them. Like, this is an authority problem. So in California, they had an independent redistricting commission, and then they put a ballot initiative on to override that district commission with a deliberately partisan gerrymandered map, and it was sold to the people as a partisan map, and the people supported it because they understood the moment we're in, and they understand that we need more power, right? And so how do you create a truly independent commission that is sort of insulated from political pressure? And you need to almost set it up at the level of like the judicial system, where you have this kind of true independence and this protection from political pressure that is implicit in the design, or the design of the Fed. Like, the Fed is fundamentally independent. But again, there's always the problem of, well, I can put a loyalist on there that doesn't have the D or the R next to the name, but they're a loyalist to me. like you're seeing in the military. The military is apolitical, but you still got an asshole who's putting bad people in charge of stuff. You know, and so that's really the hard part, is like who actually decides is the question that we need to answer. And I don't know that we have the answer to that here, but
Yeah, because you can't like constitutionally make it separate, because that would give them a level of power that, you know, like it would, I don't know. Yeah, you're right. Like it would be a rather intense thing to try and do. Now, Carl, I will say I don't know a terrible amount about multi-member districts, but I do know I have a friend who I've been supporting with ranked choice voting here in the state of South Carolina, that has data that says that multi-member districts result in more women legislators, that it increases the representation of women in politics. So there's definitely some data to look at within it, but
yeah, it's ranked choice voting plus multi-member districts, and so if you have a minority that has 20% of the population and that minority votes along, say, ethnic or gender lines, then you're going to get that representation because they might be the third or fourth on the list.
Yeah, it's like, if I remember, I'm trying to remember the math, but it's like, so if you have like, let's say a three member district, right, as an example, roughly works out, to Brian's point, about like 25% of the electorate like needs to vote for somebody to like really solidify them, right? Is like, this individual is going to make it. So for me, I'm like Brian. I mean, I'm a fan of it. I think it would effectively break the stranglehold of the two-party system, which is also why I think it's going to be a tough one to get through. Because let's be honest, the DNC and RNC aren't going to want to give that up willingly, right? But yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. Like that combo of RCV and MMD, like I think that's fucking phenomenal.
I mean, that's why we exist. They don't have to want to do a damn thing.
Yep, that's right.
I do believe that talking about the two-party system, right? None of us are happy. Like I'm not happy with my party. I haven't been for years. And so that's why I've been out here railing against the GOP for over a decade. I am a firm believer that 2028 is going to be the rise of the independent. And the reason I say that is, as I am out here in the streets, like advocating for a Democrat to be elected, I see people like Kat Abu Ghazaleh, who I was a fan of, and I really wanted Kat to win. And she was well liked and well backed, and I believe that in 2028 you are going to see not only the progressives within the Dems kind of shift away from the Dem party, you are going to see moderates within the Republican Party shift away from our party as well. Because there is not representation for like someone like me, right? Like I don't fit into either party. Brian, I would fathom don't fit into either party as it stands, right? Yeah.
There's a party that I just had to.
I mean, what do y'all think about the rise of the third party?
I'm just saying, there's a party that I just had to leave from that we've got quite a few veterans in. Something about Ross Perot, but I mean, like I would love to see the rise of alternative parties. I think that the power dynamics at play mean that you have very lazy messaging, and a party should have to fight for votes rather than just taking them as a given. So yeah, I mean, I hope more than anything that we do in fact see a big independent movement. I wrote about that in 2024, trying to come up with like, how do we inspire people to do exactly what's happening now to prevent what is happening now, so I'm of the mindset of better late than never, it's our country and we take it back. And I think that running independents are a big thing. I'll be honest, we supported RFK Jr. during the last election cycle. I quite frankly, I blame Democrats. I blame the Democratic Party for Trump's election. If they would have left RFK Jr. alone, just let him just exist.
What?
The thing
It's a
is,
hot take.
it's a hot take, right? But
All
again,
right,
like,
we're getting
I'm talking
spicy.
to the man.
No.
Yeah, no.
What?
Hear me out. Hear me out. My party, my old party, we nominated RFK Jr. for president. We told his campaign the first time they came around, hard pass. And then he started to gain some serious popularity, right? Like his campaign was really picking up steam. He was getting ballot access. The Reform Party had ballot access in Florida. They wanted that ballot access in Florida. And we were like, they came back to us and they said, okay, we, more or less, I'm not going to say cut a deal, but they were more popular and we had a very difficult discussion around if he continues to pick up steam and we're the party of Ross Perot, the last like major independent candidate, and we say no, how does that look for us in the future as an independent party or as a third party that didn't support the next biggest independent run? There were flaws, there were concerns that we had, but we knew that if RFK had made it to the White House, he would have no real capacity to get any of his crazier stuff done because he would have to coalition build. So he didn't really seem to be a threat. Okay, so we go and he loses ballot access in New York and he loses ballot access in a couple other places, and then he just up and quits the race. Whenever he up and quits the race, Donald Trump brings him on, and then all the Make America Healthy Again people, the Maha movement, jumps into the MAGA movement, and then they're out campaigning together, and we're just like, so you just abandoned us, right? That's sweet. But anyway, that's again, and so to conclude that it is kind of my feeling that if they just would have left that candidate alone, right, to go and campaign and get a small portion of the votes for a very vocal minority, that would have detracted largely from Trump's crowd enough, because where did those people go to? They went to Trump, right? It would have detracted from Trump enough that the swing states likely would have went the other way.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
that's
so I'm just
assuming that's assuming that the Maha and MAGA crowds were not the same, right? Like, I don't
There's
think
some serious overlap.
you're right, but at the same time, if you look at voter trends, right? Voters will say, "Oh, well, I hate the two-party system," and yada yada yada. Yeah, we lost Katie. But they'll talk about how they hate the party system. They hate their parties. They feel like they're an outcast. They talk a big game about wanting to vote for a third party, and then they get into the polling booth, and what do? They vote for one or the other major parties. Like that's how it works. That's what they do, because of the fact that they've got it ingrained in themselves that if they don't vote for one or the other, that the worst case scenario for them is that the party that they don't want to win wins, and that their vote is a throwaway vote in a situation where they vote for a third party candidate. So I'm less optimistic about a third party rise in 2028 because of the fact that I don't think that the American people are willing to risk it.
Well, I would say insanity is beating your head, or is doing the same thing over and over, and we've been beating our head against the wall of a better president for a while now. And at some point in time, you're like, hey, like, how many times are you going to be failed by both parties before you say enough is enough? Oh no, again, it wouldn't have had to have been a large difference in order to have massive consequences on that election.
So I happen to think that RFK is a loon. However, he's a very interesting loon because he comes not from the right but from the left, and he and it represents kind of what's happened to the country. In the 1980s, essentially, your educated class tended to vote Republican. Okay, that has shifted over the last 40 years. So, like your typical Reagan Republican who was worried about things, existential questions like communism, like international communism, those were like your upper middle class educated folk, and and then they had all these other ideological predicates along it, like love of capitalism, these other things that they had, right? That has now broken apart. And what you have is a lot of kind of the lunatic fringy left is actually moving to the right, and the left is actually starting to pick up your kind of educated Republicans, right? And so the parties are different things now, and that change is becoming more and more crystallized as time goes on. That's why this keeps coming up, and we keep talking about the Frums and the Lincoln Project people and all that, like because they're actually an important force. And I was reading some stats somewhere. Somebody did a thing on this, or it was something like 15% of the current Democratic Party used to be Republicans. Right? When you look at the crossover, because we actually do not track party affiliation over time, we only know what they are, and so they did some kind of post hoc polling to figure this out. So like the parties are changing, and the coalitions that make them up are changing, and that's kind of the process we're in right now. This happens, every 60 to 80 years in the country, where we have this kind of seismic shift in like how people actually align, and then there's this period of kind of reassortment where we have to essentially define a whole new ideology that fits everybody in the new tent that's getting built. And that's kind of the process we're in now, and that's why it's so painful and why all the infighting is so fierce, because everybody knows that, now is the time where we're going to put an ideological mark on what this new, I don't even like the term left anymore. I think it's more like institutionalist versus, arsonist, right? But like whatever that thing is, like it needs to be defined, and it needs to be defined quickly so we can coalesce and select a leader.
Yeah, I guess for me, it's like I don't like look. I absolutely agree with Sam on the fact that I think that Democrats do play a role in making Trump, like getting Trump elected, but it's not because of RFK. I think for me it goes back again to just like bad messaging, and just like essentially like for me it's you had 3 election cycles in which you didn't truly have a primary that wasn't heavily influenced by either a lot of fucking money or incredibly powerful blocks. And so what's the effect of that? The effect of that is you truly don't know your base, right? Because in theory, the point of a primary is to, and this is theory, right? The point of a primary is to get to know, like, okay, this is what the platform is for your base. This is what they care about, right? This is what the messaging is that won. At least one of the goals. And that's not how it's been for a while, but that's the theory, right? But the consequence is if you don't do that, what will occur is what we saw, right? Is you're not going to galvanize people to come out to the polls and vote, right? Because to them, it's like, well, this person isn't going to fight for me. They don't care about working class values or, working class economic policies or whatever it may be. As far as the third party, I don't know if the third party is going to come out the woodwork. What I think you're going to see is, and once again, I'm biased, but you're going to kind of see, what we're already seeing, right? Where you have these kind of groups, like I'm thinking of WFP, so Working Families Party, DSA, kind of have more of an outsized effect, right? And they're going to be running candidates that do win. Whether it's under a Democrat or an independent ticket is, could be either, depending on the local makeup. But ultimately, it's these little groups are going to start having more power within the established two-party framework, right? And the old guard is going to have to fucking do business, or they're going to have to take it on the chin. And the DNC, let's be fucking clear, they have not been, they're not great at learning their mistakes. Right, these people at the top in those institutional positions, like I'm thinking back to like Debbie Wasserman Schultz, prime fucking example, right? Zero fucking clue of the mistakes that she was making, right? Still doesn't even admit it in my mind. You had, I think, if Bernie would have won, wave a magic wand in 2016, we wouldn't have had Trump, right? I don't think I think it would have been a crazy ass election, but I don't think we would have had Trump. And so I guess for me, it's like I don't think it's going to be third party. I think it's going to be like these little groups, if you will. So like the Bryans of the world are going to come out of the woodwork, for the libertarian side, and whether they vote, to your point, Brian, for more of a Democrat candidate, independent.
Working a secret project. I want there to be a libertarian no kings rally. Just libertarians doing their thing, saying no kings in their language, the way they want to do it. I don't know if I'm going to pull it
I
off.
feel
but we're
like
gonna try.
that's just like New Hampshire on a fucking Saturday.
Yeah, well, New
like,
Hampshire's got a
you know,
MAGA
like
chud
fucking,
in charge of it. So the Libertarian Party in New Hampshire is a lost cause.
It'd be like Mad Max. I just think like imagine Mad Max up there. It's like the fucking
Yeah.
Thunderdome. Like they have like
Yeah,
a kegger going. You know, like it's fucking.
Yeah, it really is
insanity.
like it's like
Yeah.
Mad Max, like radical libertarianism, but also they flirt with like the MAGA stuff, and so this.
Yeah, 100% they do up there. Yeah,
it's small party politics, and so people don't even notice all this, and I just notice it because I'm like adjacent to it, and
Yeah.
and I hang out in the libertarian spaces sometimes, and like it's so interesting because right now they're having like an identity crisis, and like
Good.
they are fighting with each other, and it is ruthless, like they are stabbing each other, right? But here's the thing: the people saying, you know what, maybe we should hang out with no kings. I think they're winning. Like they're winning the argument, right? Because and a lot of this, yeah, it's because of the and again, this is just social, so I don't have any data. It's just like I'm reading the socials and it's kind of what people are talking about, right? Like where the base is, and they're like, listen, like no kings is about opposing tyranny, and this is just right wing tyranny, right? That's the way they're framing it, and and when the left wants to start taxing and doing all the shit that they want to do, well, then we'll fight them on that, right? Like they haven't changed their principles, they're just kind of realigning their sort of observations about where their friends are, right? So
and I guess to me, I guess that makes that point. That plays into the point that I guess I'm trying to make here is like you're going to have those little pockets of groups, like libertarians, DSA, WFP, whoever it may be, kind of swinging some votes depending on where they're at on issues in the party. I mean, like DSA just passed the 100,000 mark for dues paying members, which is insane to think about.
Yeah.
But it fucking says something, right? I mean, that says something. So,
but what that does is it gives, because we still have the first past the post system. So I think you are right that we're not going to see a third party. And the way it happens in our system is what the people that make up the coalitions kind of shift around and change, and then as they change, one group or the other will offer an olive branch and say, okay, we'll change our platform a little bit to accommodate you, and then you can join our tent. And it's fictitious and complicated, and people hate each other for a while, but eventually it works out. This was how the original Republican Party was constructed. It was made up of social conservatives, national security conservatives, and economic conservatives, which, if you look at their area of concerns, actually don't overlap at all. And basically, William F. Buckley and all those folk kind of figured out how to bolt that coalition together. Okay, and it became a dominant force in American politics for a long time. We're now seeing that fall apart because the social conservatives just went crazy and took over everything, right? And the economic conservatives are like, well, I can still get my tax breaks, but we don't like them. And then the national security conservatives are already out, and they're already a swing vote, right? Like those folk are grabbable. And I've said this before, like we can get those people to join us.
I mean, even the economic conservatives, though, man. And I'm gonna shut up after this because this is, I guess, too nerdy, but. Like Edmund Burke has to be spinning in his motherfucking grave right now, looking at the Republican Party. Like, there's no fucking way. And I'm not like blatantly, I'm DSA. Don't give a fuck about laissez-faire economics, right? But that being said, I've read Burke, right? I've read all these people, right? And I look at it and I'm like, this to me does not look like fucking laissez-faire economics, my friend. It looks like, the invisible hand of the market isn't so fucking invisible, right? I mean, that's just where I'm coming from or seeing it.
Sure. I mean, well, it's identity politics, but it's on the right, where like they're all wrapped up in their identity, and they're not even understanding that the philosophy of on which it's based is also being perverted, right? You are muted, KT.
That's because most of the base within the GOP don't understand the tenets of the GOP, right? Like they don't even understand the tenets of their own party. Because as a Republican, I talk to Republicans all the time about the tenets of the GOP. And then I'm like, hey, here's the piece of policy that is in direct contradiction with this specific tenet within our party. And they just kind of shrug their shoulders. And I'm like, well, that's not how that works. Like, you either follow the tenets of the party or you don't. And if you don't follow the tenets of the party, then you're actually not the party. And so that's been my viewpoint this entire time, is that the MAGA, all of the MAGA movement, like all of it, the policy and everything, is not the GOP.
It is not the Republican Party. It doesn't follow the tenets of the party of fiscal responsibility, small government. They think small government means numbers. No, small government means government overreach. Fiscal responsibility is that we are like spending our money as a country, like responsibly, and we're not. Like we just saw like the new budget proposal for next year. Like that's not fiscal responsibility. And when we talk about the sanctity of life, like Republicans only like to talk about the sanctity of life in the context of abortion. But the sanctity of life is all human life. So that also means feeding children, making sure they're not homeless, making sure that they have like education. That is also sanctity of life. And then when we talk about global norms and global diplomacy, well, we blew that the fuck up. So, what exact tenets are the Republicans following? Because as a Republican, as a lifelong Republican that believes in the tenets of the party, what the fuck are we doing? Like, let's oust these people from our party because they're not our party. Like, own it. Like, I hate, and it's not to call anybody out that like switches parties. Like, what tenet do you no longer believe in that you've switched to a Democrat? Because I believe in all of the fucking tenets that I said I did. So I'm not going to switch parties because, oh my God, I know, Carl, you go ahead. But I hate when people do that. It is my biggest pet peeve because what do you exactly give up on? Like, especially politicians that, like, oh, I've been a Republican and now I'm a Democrat, like David Jolly in Florida, and he's winning for the Democrats. Bro's a fucking Republican by ideology. So, like, now you're going to switch and win and the Dems love you? Like, get your shit together, both of you. But what did you give up on? Right? Like, what did you give up on? Because as a Republican, I want to know. Like, did you give up on small government? Now you believe in large government, so you're a Democrat. Did you give up on fiscal responsibility? So you're like, yeah, fuck that. Or, did you give up on global diplomacy? So you're like, oh yeah, the Republicans fucked it up, so I'm just going to switch over here. Like, because as a Republican, that's everything that I talk to other Republicans about is the tenets and the policy behind it. Because I want my party back. I know the definitive moment I gave up on the party, and it is when I was called the gay Gestapo in a fucking meeting as the parliamentarian for the party. That's when I walked away. After the Koch brothers trained me under Americans for Prosperity. So you want to talk about Soros money? No, it's Koch brother money. That's what trained me, motherfuckers, and I'm out in the street fighting you with it. So good luck on that because I know your strategy. I was your parliamentarian. I was your token fucking gay. So fuck you. Go ahead, Carl.
Well, Hannah was up first.
I don't necessarily want to have to follow that.
Neither do I. And I
But-
Just curse at something.
I was gonna say,
Fuck.
Based off of like my conversations with, especially Katie, I grew up in northern New Jersey, where people think Jersey is blue, Jersey is, this democratic state. I lived in backwoods Jersey, and the more that I am involved in activism and this world and realizing and learning like fully what the tenets were, I was raised to be a Republican. And statistically in northern New Jersey, the more educated someone is, the more likely that they have left the Republican Party in at least New Jersey. And I didn't understand it until I started having these conversations.
Carl, before you go, I do want to point out the statistic that the higher educated you are, the more left you lean. That's a national statistic because if you look at the voter registration and the voter rolls and you look at the education levels do dictate who you vote for predominantly. And so when Nick, although he's not here tonight, is like, well, you think we're dumb. No, I think statistics matter. And so, like, if the most uneducated populace within the country votes for fascists, well, I mean, math's mathin'. Go ahead, Carl.
Yes, I think you're dumb.
Yeah, so I gotta defend myself, right? The core tenets of the Republican Party no longer exist, and I say that bear with me, right? I say that because of the fact that MAGA has taken over the party. Literally, they have rooted into the party, and the Republican Party is no longer about small government. They're no longer about ensuring that we have oh fiscal conservative spending, right? Like they don't care about any of that. Here's what they care about. They care about the freedoms for me except for thee, right? They don't care about your freedom of religion because all they want is their freedom of religion. And they want to be able to use their freedom of religion in order to attack and bastardize and put down anyone who doesn't agree with them. That's what the Republican Party is now. I left the Republican Party because I realized that the most important thing to me was not small government, it was human rights, basic human dignity. And the Democratic Party, right, for all of its flaws, one of the core tenets of the Democratic Party is ensuring and supporting basic human rights and basic human dignity. And for me, that is the most important thing to me. That's my line in the sand. And when the Republican Party actively goes after women's rights, actively goes after transgender rights, actively attacks LGBT equality, actively engages in efforts to imprison minorities, and amplifies that as, oh, we are the party of the rule of law. No, bro, you are the party of racism. You are the party of bigotry. You're the party of idolatry, literally idolatry, right? These same people who claim to be conservative Christian nationalists have no fucking clue what the core tenets of their own religion is. So I left the Republican Party because the Republican Party isn't the Republican Party anymore. It is the party of Trump. And I don't want to be associated with the party of Trump. I don't want to have to explain to someone when I'm talking to them that I'm a registered Republican, but I'm not a red hat wearing Republican. I don't want to have to go through that rigmarole every single time I encounter someone, because that is a barrier to my ability to get my own words out and my own message out. Because unlike Sam, who is running now, I plan to run later, right? Like, and that's not to say Sam doesn't plan to continue his efforts to run, but I recognize that I'm not going to run as a third party because it's not possible. I'm not going to climb that hill. I'm going to choose the quickest way to get into office because I want to actually, I want to make a difference. Sam, I'm not downing you. I promise you, bro. But that's what I see. And so I left the Republican Party because I don't align with them anymore. I align with the Democrats on the basis of human rights. I still have my conservative values. I still value small government. I still value ensuring that our budget is balanced every single fucking year. I still value ensuring that our Constitution is adhered to. But I also understand that the most important thing right now is ensuring that we support and defend those who can't support and defend themselves. And so Democratic Party is the answer for me, and it will be the answer for me until they fail to stand up along those value lines that I stand on.
I can see that argument, right? And it's the fact that I saw a reel where this like older white lady was yelling at her family for voting for Trump, and she said, "I will never forgive you for voting on the same side as the KKK." Right? It's like the KKK voted for Trump, and so did her family. And I understand the value of human rights, but I am a firm believer that there are people in the Republican Party that know what is going on is wrong. How do I know? Because some of them are sitting here, right? Like, I'm not the only Republican out there fighting for my party. There was the meme that was dropped into the chat the other day, and I saved it on my phone, and I've sent it to a bunch of Republican friends of mine about the Tea Party. Like, we fed the beast of the Tea Party. That was the downfall of the traditional Republican Party, was the Tea Party, was giving them any space to breathe. When we started giving into that extreme, and then we couldn't control it anymore, right? Because yeah, we we took in the Tea Party, we let them grow, and now they took over and they have shifted the Overton window so far right that even moderate Republicans have to call themselves Democrats because of the values. But what I am proposing is fuck their shift. We shift it back and ex-nay these people from our party and society. Because without it, these people are going to continue to grow for a very long time. And that faction is so loud, yet so small within the actual party. Because I'm out here talking to everyday Republicans all the time in the South, and they're like, yeah, this is not great. And you see it. You see Republicans in Florida right now, like 15, 17, 19-point swings because they're over it. And they will vote every Republican out until we start running moderate Republicans. But we can't run moderate Republicans if moderate Republicans leave the party. Then we're really just going to hand the party over to the fascists. Someone has to stand. There's the quote, when good men do nothing, evil wins. When good men do nothing and say nothing and walk away and say, hey, I'm not going to fight, I will go toe to toe with every Republican. You will catch me at every protest pretty much if I'm not like emceeing or at the front, de-escalating Republicans, talking about the tenets of the party, talking about policy, and trying to find that common ground. I find it so hard to believe that there is the vast majority of the Republican Party does not believe in human rights. I just don't. Because that would inherently mean that like 35% of the country, like literally don't believe in human rights at all for anything but white Christian nationalists. I think that there's a large swath within the vote that happened for Trump that know they fucked up. And that's my contention. I mean, Brian, what do you think? You are a...
Well, Hannah had her hand up, so let her speak first.
Oh shit, I can't see.
I do have thoughts, but I don't want to crowd Hannah out. I've been talking enough.
I was gonna say Sam had his hand up first.
Oh, Sam, I can't see hands.
We're
Sorry.
so polite here.
I can't see my phone.
Down here in the
That,
south.
that was a beautiful rant. One, right? Principles, tenets. I think a lot of us, again, I agree with, kind of fiscal conservatism. I really like the balanced budget. I dare say it should be an amendment. Most states have an amendment that requires a balanced budget. But anyway, so within the actual, I don't know if anybody's read the Republican Party platform for the last election cycle, but it was full of bangers. Let me tell you, one of my favorites was, we will establish robust manufacturing capability in near Earth orbit. How high do you have to be to say? But to your point, I mean, I agree with you. Like, again, whether it doesn't matter what the Republican Party says and does, people are still going to vote in it or vote for it because culture is sticky, and it is a cultural trait right now. And so we, as people that existed within that space, would be doing a disservice to the country to fully abandon that space and let MAGA operate unimpeded. Vote however you want to vote, right? because your time spent organizing and working in spaces doesn't necessarily have to be where your vote's at. So, I mean, I again, that is why I'm doing what I'm doing, is because I feel the need to be in that space and offer an alternative voice that otherwise is not being heard, and to see how many people can resonate with it, and hopefully decide to push back against the craziness, because I do think that we're hitting a level of crazy that has been sustained for so long that just can no longer really be ignored. But I agree with you. Like, I feel you. I hate it. I hate it. I'm sorry.
So one, North Carolina is the only state in the country that does not have a balanced budget right now. We did not have a budget passed in 2025, and we still do not have a budget passed. So we are the only state in the country that does not have a balanced budget. And
Or
I
a budget at all.
absolutely, huh?
Or a budget at all.
There's
Well,
no
that
money
part.
in our politics.
But
Big
I will
yikes.
also, I will absolutely agree with the rise of the Tea Party. My dad is a Tea Partyist, and that was when he and I started to shift, and that was when, like, I remember the shift from Republican into Tea Partyist, and that was the point that I had to stop having political conversations with my dad, because any political conversation just escalated to a point of, like, neither side was listening to each other. But it fed into the MAGA movement, because I know a number of people who are J6ers, who are family friends, or were family friends. And to have to sit across the dinner table from someone who, like, was disappointed that they weren't there is such a weird shift. And then to come into this space and think that, oh, my dad started to call me, like, a bunny hugger. He's like, you're a Democrat bunny hugger. And then I come into this space and I'm like, but I was raised so Republican and I have such Republican values. And it's so weird.
I don't even know what the fuck that means. Like, does anybody know what that reference means?
It's like tree hugger.
Well, I mean, I know tree hugger, but
Yeah.
But bunnies
Yeah.
are cool, bro. Like, what the fuck's wrong with bunnies?
I'm so confused on that.
I was raised in an incredibly liberal house. Hey guys, by the way, hello, Katie, Carl, thank you for inviting me again. Brian, good to see you. Hannah, good to put a face to the name. And Sam, good to see you again. Logan, I gotta talk to you. But I was raised in southeastern Massachusetts, man. Like, deepest blue, Jaws. I mean, it's all very, very blue. What I found as I progressed through these things, and my understanding was, I kind of came up with a conclusion that I will kind of always cheerlead for America. I don't know. But to Logan, last time I got cut off, and I'm sorry, and I apologize. I'm out in the middle of the desert, guys. You mentioned anybody who agreed with Trump doesn't appreciate veterans. I was only an infantryman. I was only in the Marine Corps. I only did it for 20 years. I was only in like a couple named battles. The biggest one was kind of like Phantom Fury, Alpha Jar, Citadel 2, that kind of 04, 05 period where we took Fallujah the second time. I only lost 126 dudes in the units that I was with. But just because I agree doesn't mean that I don't appreciate what happened to veterans and what veterans stand for. And I'm sorry I had to get that out because that was in the thing that got cut out from the last conversation. So that's all I have on that. Thank you, guys.
I'll let Logan go because just he's called out. So
Yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah,
look,
not to call you out.
nah, that's what this is for, man. I mean, look, at the end of the day, that's why we do this. Like, I've had these arguments before in a lot of SVAs, and as somebody that is left of the Democratic Party and a veteran, that's been in veteran spaces, suffice to say, I'm used to the arguments, right? So it doesn't bug me, man. Yeah, it's like this, man. The sacrifices that the men and women within the United States military have made, I don't take anything away from that. I am grateful for my brothers and sisters on the front line that have fought. I come from a long line of enlisted men. We have fought in every single fucking war since before the country's inception, right?
Same here. I'm from Massachusetts too, bro, and Kentucky.
Yeah. So for me, Oklahoma, and a lot of my family were in Appalachia before that, So, for me, it's like this, man. When I make that statement, I want to be very clear about what I mean, because I just don't want it to be misconstrued in any way. There's a lot of plastic patriots out here in America that have never worn the uniform, right? That say they support the troops, they stand for the troops. We see greenwashing all the time for fucking Veterans Day, all that shit. And for me, what I would like to say is it's not just those people that haven't served, but even my brothers and sisters that have served, that are veterans now. I'll put it this way. If you voted for Trump or you support Trump and that administration and what they did to veterans, you don't care about veterans, man. You don't support the troops. You don't stand for the troops, right? The reason I say that is the policies have been clear. These are historic cuts that have been made to the VA. What that means is more men and women are blowing their fucking brains out without getting the help that they need, that they were supposed to get, right? So when I say this, it's not that I say it lightly, right? I know what I'm saying, right? And this isn't to take away from the sacrifice of any men and women that, made that ultimate sacrifice on the battlefield, right? And to your point too, Nick, I love America. I consider myself a patriot. For fuck's sake, I got a flag in the back, right? I got the tattoos and shit, the moto tattoos, right? For me, it's fucking not a question of whether I love this country or not. For me, it's a question of, I do love this country so much. I love the veteran community so much. It fucking sickens me whenever I see politicians or even veterans voting against their own interest, or politicians taking advantage of veterans or other Americans that have never served to then once again vote against veterans, right? And to me, look, it's very clear. Look at the policies. If you support Trump, you support historic cuts to the VA. That's what you support, right? If you support historic cuts to the VA, and because the data is clear on this, you support veterans blowing their fucking brains out, right? I don't make that statement lightly. That is how I feel. Every single person on this call, and Nick, I don't know you from Adam. I know you know somebody that's probably committed suicide that you served with, right? Just statistically. And if not, then you're one of the fucking lucky ones, because I have. Right?
Only 9.
There you go. Perfect. So that's where I'm coming from, man. I love this country so much. I love my veteran community so much that it infuriates me, man, when I see that.
I'm gonna make a caveat here to Nick, and I'm gonna add on as a woman. I know that you were in the infantry and you didn't serve with women directly. I don't think you could have. I don't think, could be wrong. I don't know how you feel about women in uniform, but I'm going to tell you something deeply personal, and I want you to hear me very clearly. I was sexually assaulted 3 times in 7 years. I never got any justice. After Vanessa Guillen was murdered, women veterans around the country said enough was enough. At that point, there was 5 generations of women that had served openly. So a shit ton of us got together all over the country. We stood up protest, women veteran rape survivor led across this country in 2020 and 2021. We got policy
I'm
change.
so sorry that happened to you. I'm
don't
so sorry that it happened to you.
I don't need your sympathy. I need you to hear me. We got the policy
Well, no,
changed.
it's yeah. God bless.
Just hear me. We got the policy changed so that it would not happen again. Okay, we got provisions changed in 2021 in the NDAA, parts of the Vanessa Guillen Act, so that we could mitigate, not stop, but mitigate, right? Because most people think it is a women's issue. More men are sexually assaulted than women in the military. More men. But women take up this battle, and we took it up for 5 generations, and we finally got some protections. Guess what happened? When Trump took office and Pete Hegseth took office, he took away every single protection, every single one we fought for. And guess what else happened? You can no longer closed report in the military, so everything is open. Retribution is at an all-time high in the military, and women are being openly murdered yet again on Fort Hood after reporting sexual assault. So I want you to hear me when I say, when you continue to support this administration, it's like spitting in the face of women that have fought for so long, not just for us, right? Like, women matter. I want accountability for them all. And the problem is when you have a rapist that's running the Department of War or whatever, the Department of Defense, when you have a known rapist who paid off a woman, you think that he's going to really care about rape in the military? Probably not. It's probably going to continue. And when he kicks women out and doesn't want to promote them, does he really care about anybody? So, Nick, I told you this very deeply personal story about myself, and I'm very open about my story so that people hear me. Because when I was fighting against it in 2020, you know who sent me death threats? Male veterans. You know who showed up on my property? Male veterans. That's who I was fighting against. Our own brothers in arms.
Male veterans came to you because you were speaking out that you were assaulted?
Yes. And then the VA came after some of the organizers because they said if we were speaking so openly about our rapes in the military, did we really have PTSD? And we had to fight the VA. So what I'm saying is, listen, if you don't hear anything else out of any fucking podcast we do, hear me when I say this administration will cause women to be murdered openly. 3 already since they took office. 2 on Fort Hood and 1 in Norfolk. It is happening. So when
And
Logan
it's because
is
of this administration?
100%, my guy, 100%, no doubt in my mind, if we would have the same protections we had, at at least the reporting would be closed. At least there wouldn't be retribution at the highest level. At least it would be taken out of the chain of command. And none of that is happening. It is
Wow,
causing
that's crazy.
women to be murdered in uniform. So if nothing else changes your mind, that should. Because enough is enough. Enough is enough. Okay? All we're asking for is accountability. When you have officers that rape multiple women and are predators in the military, and then they get a pat on the back and get to fucking retire with full pay, that's a problem. That is a big problem. And that is happening.
For sure.
And so please,
No,
that's
I had
all
no
I'm
idea.
going to ask. I know most men don't. And that's why I'm pleading with you. If you care about your sisters in uniform, listen to this one issue. If it is going to change your mind, that should be it. Because if you're sitting here and you're saying that you love our brothers and sisters, love us. Fight with us. This is a battle I have been fighting for 10 fucking years. And now we are being murdered again. And it is not a women's issue. They do not listen to women because they've made it a women's issue. It is going to take good men like you, Nick, good men like you, to speak next to me and say enough is enough. As a man, I want every rapist out. That's what I'm asking for.
Oh, sure. Now that was passionately and beautifully put. And if you think for a second that I wouldn't be against getting rapists out
I'm
of
not
the
saying
U.S.
you
military.
personally. I'm not saying you personally.
No, I
am
get it.
saying
I get it.
you are supporting an administration that is hiding them, keeping them in, promoting them, and letting it happen for another generation. Let's stop that.
Yeah, no.
Let's stop
Sure,
that.
sure. I never interacted with females until I got to Barstow, and I was the operations chief there. But that's in the S3. But the Barstow was weird. So I had all the ammo techs and the armory techs, all of whom were female, and I somehow had postal, which should be S1. But we're not going to get into that. I fixed it later. Don't worry. And I had never, of course, interacted with them. I had lionesses on patrols. We call them lionesses now. Now I'm probably going to get canceled. But
No,
that's what we
fat
called them at the
teams.
time.
I know what you're talking about. Go ahead.
Yeah, they were fat. Yeah, they were fat teams in Afghanistan. In Iraq, they were lionesses. And for the Marine Corps. And they were cogent, competent, trained to standard. They were fucking Marines. They were Marines. And I don't, their impact was significant in the local area. And this is toward the end of the war. I didn't see them in the beginning or the middle of the war, but toward the war. And I'm grateful for their contribution, and I'm grateful for I honestly think saving a couple people's lives in numerous occasions, in numerous situations. And the fact that you have to be fearful at home is unacceptable. The fact that you have to worry about the person to your left and to your right who could potentially assault you or kill you is absolutely unacceptable. And I don't agree with it. And That said, I don't think that this administration is necessarily complicit in that.
Nope.
And I know you
Nope,
do.
nope,
And I
nope.
understand why
It
you
is an
do.
all or
Well,
nothing, Nick. They are fucking complicit or they are not. And I normally don't cut you off. This is one subject. I fucking will. Because either you help rapists get justice and fix the problem, or you don't. And they are not. So they are complicit. It's one or the other. And they are complicit.
okay.
Okay. And it
Okay.
sucks. Like, it sucks to hear that and have to realize that, but they are complicit. And I'm going to tell you why they are complicit in 3 short reasons. Number one of the provisions that we made sure was that they took it out of the chain of command into a third party. The reason being is I am raped. I report. It goes to my commander. My commander has the discretion as to whether it goes forward or not. We thought that stupid good old boys club should go to a third party. They took away that provision. Do you think that that's complicit?
I don't know if it is or not.
Do you think that it is
Again, I know you
perpetrating
guys
the
all
good
think
old boy club? I'm gonna help you out here. Do you think that it is perpetrating the good old boy club? That if your buddy,
I never
you're an
experienced that. I
But
never
I-
experienced that in my military
I'm not
career.
asking whether you
Bullshit on that one.
experienced it. I am asking whether you think that it is going to perpetrate the good old boy system. That if there is a friend of an E8, like a master sergeant, sergeant major, and then there's an E6, E7 down here, that there is a report that goes to him and he's like, man, he's a good guy, been on multiple deployments with him. I'm just going to let this slide. And by the way, that E3 is trying to ruin his career.
Well, in my experience, most guys are trying to fuck other guys over. And any
That's the
leverage that they
infantry.
can get over them. Yeah, so I don't know the good old boy club. Like, dude, if somebody fucks up and you find out about it, we're gonna tell everybody, and 2, we're gonna call you on that shit. And
I am going to
for
combat
whatever
that and say
reason,
this.
all my
Hold on.
friends had daughters.
I am
All
going to
my
combat
friends had
that,
daughters, so they were super protective.
Nick.
Oh,
I'm going to
sorry.
combat that and say this. Every woman I know, every woman I have ever served with or I have met after the service has a story. Every single woman. You know how many men
Damn.
I know that know rapists?
Mm.
0. But come to find out that when we did our movement in 2020, 9 of us who all served in the same fucking battalion got raped by the same guy. So don't tell me that
Jesus Christ.
E7 didn't tell any of his battle buddies. Don't tell me that they didn't see that E7 out at the club with young soldiers. Don't tell me that they weren't high-fiving behind the back of getting a new young girl who just came to the unit. It's all inappropriate. And Rain says that the number one reason for such high sexual assaults in the military is ambient sexual harassment is acceptable. And what I mean by that is that jokes are acceptable. New girl comes into the unit and we're all making bets on her, acceptable. And everybody here on this call has seen it. I am complicit in it myself. Because years later, as an adult, as an adult looking back, I made some shitty decisions, even as a woman NCO. But as a veteran, now is the time that I stand up for the next generation. And it should be yours, Nick. of your time to stand up and say, hey, we're going to not fucking let that happen anymore. There's plenty of women and men that this shit happened to. So I'm going to go ahead and take a stance and be like, yeah, let's keep everybody accountable. And that's what we're asking for here, right? We can disagree on a
Sure.
lot of things, but I do think we all agree that the military should be a cohesive unit and we should all hold people accountable for poor behavior. And rape is a felony. It is a felony. And we are letting people
It's the
get away
most
with
disgusting thing you can do. It's literally the most disgusting. To me, it's worse than murder. Because if you
Yes.
murder somebody, unless you're like torturing them, dude, if you murder somebody, like what? They don't care anymore. When you rape somebody, it stays with them forever.
Yes.
It's
And then
terrible.
you know what we're doing to the civilians is we're letting people get away with rape in the military and then sending them into civilian society and taking instead of taking care of our own problem, which is another accountability issue. Because when we let rapists go free into society, that's negligence on the government's part because they know, and then they just pay them to hang out in their house as rapists. Isn't that fun for your tax money as a conservative? I don't know. I don't want my tax money going to pay for the fucking rapists. I don't think you do either. So that's when we say, as veterans, if we continue to support this administration, then you don't support veterans and active duty because that's why. Because we can't support an administration that is going to let rapists be paid for the rest of their life just to chill. We can't let an administration let rapists go free in the military. We just can't. And so I am going to cut this. We are at time. Nick, thanks for coming. We have a fun new section. I didn't mean to make it so heavy, you
Jamie.
guys, but I.
Look in studio
What?
chat first.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, I know. I was gonna cut it. Brian, go ahead.
So I had a quick comment, and this is for Nick. So you heard a lot today, and like a lot of emotion today, and you're gonna hear this a lot because this work is just really exhausting and is draining everybody, and part of this is just a vent session for us because we gotta do that. You're gonna hear a lot about disgust.
Grievance culture.
Yeah, a little bit, but I think it's different, right? Because I'm not a member of grievance. Like I don't have any grievances against me personally or anything that's happened in my life. Like for me, it's all philosophical and like, oh, I see danger. But
yeah, victim mentality. Yeah.
that's not where I'm coming from. What I'm saying is you're going to hear a lot of this about like disgust. There is a reason for that because what Trump is doing, okay, is he is deliberately using the policy of the government, okay, to harm people, and then he's using excuses coded in language that you or people like in that cohort might understand to turn them against people. This is how he ran his real estate career. There's thousands of people whose lives have been ruined by this guy. And I made this point when we first met that I do believe the man is fundamentally evil. And the way you see it is by watching him. You watch what he says, you watch what he does, you watch the way he twists words, right? It almost sounds like the villain's monologue if you give it the right valence, and then it will start to click, right? And then once it clicks, you can't unsee it. And then once it clicks, you're going to be screaming at everybody else too and be like, "Oh my God, how come you not see what this guy's fucking doing?" Like, this is why there's so much rage and hate directed at him. Because he is a hateful person who is bringing that to him through his behavior and the way he's treating everybody. And right now he is deliberately using the government and the bully pulpit to bully people, to scare the shit out of people, to destroy people. And he's doing that on purpose, systematically, and at scale. And he will continue to do it until he is stopped. That is my fundamental belief. I haven't been.
I think you're a Red Sox.
Yeah, I haven't been.
I think you're
so
a Red Sox fan, and he is a Yankee fan.
I'm not a sports fan. So.
Sam, you had your hand up.
I did. Honestly, I gotta agree with Brian's assessment. Like way back in 2016, he gave me the ick. And that ick is, I mean, he's an abuser. I mean, he is an abuser in his language. And I've gone through a lot of discussions with one of my very close friends who came out of a narcissistic relationship, and anytime that he sees Trump, his red flags go off just constantly all the time, and he explains Trump and his worldview through that. And there's this idea that we have that a lot of the people that don't see it are people that are caught within, you can call it the siren's call of the abuser's whim, essentially. Like people, there are certain people that are drawn to abusers, and I think that that's a lot of his base at this point, because any rational person would step back and be like, I don't know. In order to actually follow him at this point, you have to hold on to those values that, like, a large portion of our country is evil and deserves something bad happening to them. And I don't see how you can follow that as a leader, especially a leader of his station. And Katie,
Sam, I think you're going to be the fucking governor
Hey Nick,
of
can
South
you let
Carolina.
him finish first, please?
Let
No.
him finish.
Oh, sorry, bro. You got it. You got it. Sam, I'm on Sam Gibbons' campaign. Fucking
no, I am but a man. But I think one of the things that really, as a Marine, that Trump did that I felt betrayed is when he negotiated with the fucking Taliban in Camp David. When he invited the Taliban to Camp David, I was like, absolutely not. Because he started the process that ended the war in Afghanistan that led to the chaos of the next administration. Wasn't it like his damn son that helped negotiate the deal? He did that and then absolved himself of all consequence. And that will never sit right with me, man. That will never sit right with me. So, again, like, should we have been in the war that long? Probably not. Like, should the Afghan army have done more? Absolutely. Should we have invited the people that were incapable of? I mean, again, like, it was a poor choice. But I have to also agree with Katie. Like, I think that whatever guardrail. This is what I was thinking with what Katie has experienced and what she has fought for. If you were to bring that up to Pete Hegseth, would his solution not be we should just remove women from the military because fundamentally they don't belong here, and that will solve our problem? Because if you look at his church and the stuff that he posts from his church, that's the ideology that comes from his church. That was his Twitter post on X and his pastor's interview that was very much like women do not belong within men's spheres. It should be one vote per household. Those were that man's ideas that Pete Hegseth posted months back. That whenever you look into these people, into their character, they are not conservative in that we believe that progress should be forward but slow and managed and observed and ensured that it doesn't create bigger issues. They are what you would deem as regressive. They are going back. They will use violence to go back and undo social progress. And we're seeing this because South Carolina just the other day felt so emboldened to put out a call to end essentially the help me with the name. The Hodges, it's the Supreme Court case that allows for gay marriage. South Carolina wants that case to go back to the Supreme Court and be undone. Why are we doing this now? It is because Donald Trump has set a precedent of essentially regression. It's not conservatism. It is a very narrow view. Essentially it's Christian nationalism. It is Christian nationalism, even though I don't think it needs to be Christian nationalist. But that must be, man. I'm done. We can do.
it's a societal reset It's a societal reset for sure. And
To what?
Yeah, that's my question. Reset
To
to
what?
what? Because there's some
A
target shit
societal reset to what?
to white supremacy.
I
That's
you know
what
I
it
don't
feels like.
know.
I'm gonna tell
I
you.
don't think
It-
white supremacy, and I think
Are you
Sam,
bad
once you
wife guys, Nick?
get Sam,
It's
once you get past Trump, dude, you are going to be a powerful, intelligent, articulate force. I don't know you from Adam, but I would vote for you right now, man.
all right.
You're the future, dude. Sorry.
Listen, I appreciate
That's-
it. It's very kind words. I'm just
All
leading
right.
by example as best I can.
We're gonna wrap it up because it is 10:17 and everybody is tired and Carl is about to have an aneurysm. And so thank you. We will do a quick safety brief. We were going to do a fun news segment tonight called, actually, we'll just keep it.
Called
We're
nothing
gonna keep
because
it
you'll
secret.
find out next time.
Yeah, you'll find out on Wednesday. We're going to have a new fun segment at the end. We'll close out with a quick safety brief.
Like and
Don't
subscribe.
Yes. Don't beat your spouse, child, dog. Yeah. Drink water. Don't add or subtract from the population unless you mean it, and have a plan. Always take all your mental health meds, make all your appointments, reach out before you crash out, get out of the advocacy space, go out and touch grass, spend time with people that you like and you love. Doesn't have to be your family. Don't drink and drive. If you do drink and you can't get home, we'll pay for your Uber. Hit up our page. And on Wednesday, we will have Mayhem, who is the co-founder out of Money Out of Politics. He is a regular panelist here, but we are going to explicitly just talk about money and politics the entire podcast because we all have different views on money and politics, and I'm sure it's going to get a little bit heated amongst us. And so it should be a good time. I look forward to it. Carl, I want to thank Carl, as always, Crayon Box Politics. He partners with us to run this, and we love him and appreciate him. He has a podcast himself, Crayon Box Politics, on Wednesdays and Fridays. That is wrong. Fridays and Sundays. No?
Yeah, Friday. The recorded version comes out Friday. Live is on Sundays.
Okay, that's what it is. Fridays and Sundays, sorry. And everybody in here is doing really good things. Brian is writing for Mass 5051. Do you want to plug yourself?
Yeah, I'm a writer for 5051. I do a weekly periodical. I also might be contributing shortly to the Vets 5051 vlog. Me and Rory have to have a chat about that, how it's going to work.
Yes.
But that is coming, and I'm writing regularly. Also potentially 5051 National. So that we got things are moving.
Sam, you want to shout out your campaign? When can people donate to you or whatever?
Yeah, it's funny talking about money in politics. No, I'm still fighting the whole FEC Form 1, get a bank account thing. Like, I can't accept donations, but we've launched a campaign because I don't like money in politics. I don't care. You know, we'll fight a broke ass campaign if we have to, because that's what we've been doing the whole time in 5051. We ain't got no money down here. We just got belligerent people with fun signs, and I think that's largely what we need. So yeah, I'm running for Congressional District 2 here in the state of South Carolina against Joe Wilson and another gentleman who I cannot remember the name of. I guess tonight I was acting more in that capacity than in 5051, but 5051's my people. I love them to death. Like, this has been like one of the best movements I have ever been a part of. So, you know, love y'all.
Get out there and look into Sam Gibbons. Sam, I'm going to send you a campaign I followed. I think it was 6 years ago now. Young 18-year-old girl won a state house seat with $0 spent. It was a fascinating campaign to watch, and I was super excited when she won her seat. So I'll send you that info. Hannah, anything going for Common Defense?
Right now I know that there is Sean Harris campaigning going on with Common Defense. I know that there are a bunch of events going on across the country. I was gonna say, just look into your local areas, tap into your local veteran organizations, and get organizing with us. You're muted, Katie.
I'm sleepy. Rory, you have anything?
Mayday. Mayday. Like us on Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. Same for Crayon Box Politics. Same for Sam Gibbons' campaign. And I don't know what his ad is, but I'm gonna let him add that so that he can throw that out there. Also, come watch us next Wednesday. And yeah.
Yep. I was going to shout out May Day. So the next No Kings action is to back your local May Day action in your area. If you do not have one, start one, get with your labor. It is labor focused. So find your unions. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We will see you back on Wednesday to talk about money in politics. Have a good night.